hours of some terrifying Reddit threads. Disturbing image from a movie I watched last night was taped to my door. Originally posted to r/RBI, and the post reads as follows. Throwaway account as I'm extremely freaked out right now. And forgive me if this is the wrong place to post this. I just don't know what to do. Last night I watched the new horror movie Hokum. My living room has large windows. You can see my TV from the street. And I'm on the second floor of a small 4-unit building in a major city, but on a quiet side street. The movie was creepy. Whatever. Went to bed, woke up, carried on, but I work from home, so I didn't leave my apartment today. Tonight, I went out into the hallway to get a package, and this was taped outside my door. And the OP links a picture, and let's check it out. And oh, hell no. That is genuinely horrifying. I have goosebumps all over right now. This is my first time seeing this image. I briefly skimmed through the story beforehand, but oh my God. Tonight I went out to the hallway to get a package, and that was taped outside their door. A creepy ass image. Dude, if I went outside of my apartment and that was taped on my door, I don't even know what I would do. I would never leave the house again. I don't know, because that is horrifying. And the OP continues and says, it's an image from the movie I watched last night. Oh, hell no. I have no idea who could have done this. It was 100% not my neighbors. There are only 4 units. 2 are out of town, and the remaining neighbor is a middle-aged female psychiatrist, not the pranking type. I don't know why this has happened or how, and I'm honestly very frightened. And since I didn't leave my house today, I don't know if it happened last night, during the day, or tonight. The image is on standard printer paper, which means someone printed this at home, cut it out, the edges are uneven, then came into my building and taped it near my apartment door in a spot only I would be able to see it. It's plausible they could have seen me watching the film through my large window from outside last night. I'm a woman who lives alone, and I'm honestly really shaken up. For the record, my landlord won't get a security camera for the building. I just ordered one to be overnighted on Amazon for outside my door, but I'm still very sleepless and worried, and I don't know how concerned I should be here. And just, oh my gosh, this is just so scary and so creepy. So that means someone was watching the OP through the OP's window, because the OP said their window was open. That means they were staring in. They saw that the OP was watching a scary movie, and they came in and taped it to their door, which is just so deranged and just unhinged. But now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, you should shut your curtains at night, especially as a single lady. Another user says, 2 questions. Any chance one of the out-of-town neighbors have a house sitter? Any chance a friend knew you were watching this and did it as a prank? More likely is that a neighbor in a surrounding building did this. They saw your screen, recognized the film, and printed the picture out. What their intentions were seemed pretty variable. Maybe they were trying to hint to shut your curtains at night. Maybe they saw that you were watching something scary and thought it'd be harmless fun to add to the spookiness. Or maybe they watch you a lot and they're saying hi. Worst scenario. How they got in, I don't know. I personally would keep an eye out to see who might be able to see into your apartment. I try to see if I could catch anyone looking at my apartment. I'd probably get a security camera for my apartment door, but mostly I'd start shutting my curtains at night. I'm not trying to blame you. You aren't the problem here. I'm a woman who lives alone too. And this post will remind me to keep my curtains closed at night." And the OP replies and says, "Only one of my friends knew I was watching that movie last night, and she lives on the other side of the country. A house sitter is possible, as they each have pets. Thank you for giving me the idea. I will text them and see. I normally do close my curtains and feel like a fool for not doing so. I started the movie when it was still light outside, so it slipped my mind as it got dark out. And it also never occurred to me that someone would take note of whatever I was watching, go home, print out a scary image on a piece of paper, cut it out, come back, somehow get into my building, and tape it to the wall by my door. Definitely a lesson going forward, but just am mostly worried I haven't seen the last of whoever did this." And someone replies and says, "They can get into your building, they watch you. I really don't like the sound of this. I'd personally make a police report just in case this isn't an isolated prank. You have to report everything if you want them to take it seriously. And get cameras that watch the hall in the front of the house." And that's a good point that kind of slipped my mind. This person was outside the OP's door, which is obvious, but also that means whoever this possibly crazy person is could wait outside the OP's door. And when the OP opens it, who knows what could happen. And whoever does that is just deranged because, I mean, even one user says right here, one user says, "You feel threatened because someone would have had to be watching inside your apartment to know you were watching the movie. Then they went out of their way to set something up to scare you. That's not normal. I would ask for the officer's info and badge number and ask if it will be more time consuming for him to deal with an IA report, no matter how trivial. Or just file the GD report. You have to make it uncomfortable. Make them feel like if they don't listen, they're gonna be the first idiot cop in a long line of idiot cops who didn't take you seriously, having to explain why that was the case either to a jury or a true crime doc production crew. At this very moment, either of you could be right. It's either no big deal, or it's the very beginning of a very big deal. Make them uncomfortable enough with that idea to just take the report." And the OP replies and says, "I really needed to hear this. Thanks so much." And yeah, like I said, I completely agree with the commenter here that starts off by saying, this person is not normal. If it was your friend, then yeah, it's a harmless joke. But if this is a stranger, and for a stranger to go through all of this, to scare you, to make you feel uncomfortable, that's not normal. That is just disturbing and unhinged. But the OP comes back the next day with an update. And let's get into it. I want to thank everyone who commented kind and concerned advice on here, especially those who suggested checking with friends about their pet sitters. Turns out, it was one of them. Their family friend's 16-year-old son was watching their cat and thought it'd be funny. My neighbors were horrified and apologized profusely and said they won't use his services ever again. For those saying this story is fake, I hope nothing freaky like that ever happens to you. Ever. It was really not fun, and I'm not the least bit interested in attention. But I am incredibly relieved that now I know who did it, and it wasn't some stranger off the street. And yes, I am installing the cameras I ordered regardless, and I will always watch movies with the curtains closed from now on. Thank you all so much. And so that is just the most relieving update ever. We found out who it was. It was just a 16-year-old playing a prank, and hopefully he meant no harm to the OP. But, I mean, looking back to the first post, it makes sense why I overreacted, why other people overreacted and said it wasn't just a prank, because, I mean, let's imagine the worst case. The worst case could be horrific if someone's crazy enough off the street to print off an image and come inside. But it turned out it was just a prank, even though it is still disturbing. I mean, that's a really messed up prank to do, just someone you don't know. But that is the best case scenario, but still very creepy nonetheless. You know, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people have ideas for businesses they want to start, but they never actually do it. Maybe it's a clothing brand, maybe it's a coffee company, maybe it's a weird little side hustle you thought of at 2 a.m. and wrote down in your notes app. The problem isn't usually the idea, it's everything that comes after it. That's why I love Shopify. If you've been sitting on a business idea, Shopify makes it easy to actually turn it into something real. Everything you need to start selling is already there from day one. And when that first customer finally shows up, Shopify checkout helps more people actually complete their purchase. Returning customers can even check out with their saved information, making the whole process ridiculously simple. The best part is that Shopify handles all the technical stuff. So instead of spending your time figuring out websites and payment systems, you can focus on growing your business and building something people actually want. Shopify powers millions of businesses around the world, from huge brands to people just getting started in their bedrooms. With Shopify, nothing stands between your idea and a real business. So go make it one. Start your free trial at shopify.com/snook. Again, that's shopify.com/snook. And once again, that's shopify.com/snook. And now, let's get back into it. OP is trapped in Sudan at the start of the ongoing civil war. The OP's first post is titled, "I'm scared and I'm about to die." And the post reads as follows. A civil war just started in Sudan right now. I woke up at 9 a.m. to bomb sounds and screams. They told everyone to take shelter and stay home. Every time I refresh my feed, I see more and more people die, and I'm growing more fearful of what's coming next. There's tanks that are the size of a whale roaming outside. Aircraft and military helicopters shooting in the air. The clouds are all dark red and black. The airport is completely destroyed, and so many planes have been hijacked and bombed. Right now, I'm laying at the floor because I live right behind the airport. The war zone is facing my house. They cut off our electricity, and the fighting is still going strong, and I fear for mine and my parents' life. We took our passports and a couple of warm clothes just in case we need to flee. I fear for mine and my parents' life too. I'm scared because there's only two choices. Either I stay in Sudan and wait for death to come around, or become an immigrant and start living an undignified life. This is heartbreaking. The building behind us got hit, and it's only a matter of time before we get hit too. And it kills me that there's no hope because both sides are rotten and both of the sides are corrupted. No stores are open, and we started to ration our food so that it doesn't run out. I pray that Allah protects us. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, I'd Google plants in your area and see if they're edible. If there's a house close to you that has a well, I'd go stay there. Hide in basements. Put important things in jars, close them properly. Put them in plastic bags and then bury them. If you can find flour, buy as much as you can. It lasts a lot and it'll soon cost a lot. Keep cash. Keep a lot of it. You will need it to pay soldiers to let you live and to buy something to eat. If you can find plastic buckets, you can surround a room with it and put your important things in that room. Also put buckets of water everywhere near windows. If they want to burn the house, the water will help against the fire. If they come to your house and demand you open the door, it's best to open it. Otherwise, they'll think you're hiding something. If you can flee, do flee. Don't expect the country you go to love you. They'll look down on you. But work hard and stay humble until you can create a safe future for yourself. P.S. Take pictures of all your documents and send them to your email, and to the email of your family and/or friends living around. You might lose your documents. You can open your email from anywhere. Do it now. You might lose internet and electricity, ID, passports, school diplomas, medical documents, certificates, etc. Also look for land and ownership documents. You might need them after the war, in case someone seizes your property. If you can translate documents to English officially, do it. You might need them if you flee. And someone else says, your life is worth more than your pride. Escape if you can. And then the OP comes back a month later with the title, My Parents Asked Me to Learn How to Clean and Bury Corpses. It's been over a month now for the civil war that happened in my country, Sudan. Things have been going downhill ever since, and so is my patience and mental health. It's been 21 days of no electricity and water, and our food in the fridge, or what's left of it, is all spoiled and rotten. We are running out of cash, and I don't know how to run things anymore. The stores all around us are closed, and all of our cash got spent on buying water from the milk van. We can't afford milk because it's way too expensive, and we need the cash for both my mother and dad's medicine. The RSF forces are robbing all the nearby houses, and it's only a matter of time before they reach ours. I can't imagine my mother getting R-worded or my dad getting shot. And there are only 10 hospitals in the country, and they only treat the military forces and announce the dead civilians. I figured we have to flee to the States, but I fear we might get killed on the way. And with no income, and my dad being 80, and my mom being 50, and weak, it's up to my 19-year-old ass to hit the streets and find a job, but no one is hiring. Not even a maid or a babysitter. And I never imagined that one day, I'll go from being a medical student to a panhandler in the streets. Yesterday, it was 2 a.m. when a bomb hit the airport, and it lit up the whole sky and shook the house and broke all our window doors, kitchen utensils, and ornaments. My mother sat down and talked to me about her will, and if she dies, she wants things to go according to her will, and that I should learn how to do Guals al Mayit. I apologize if I mispronounced that. As I'm writing this, tears are stinging my eyes, and her words keep circling my head, and I just want to do something drastic and relieve myself from all of this. But my parents have no one but me to support them, and I would do anything for them, and I would sacrifice everything for them, even if it cost my happiness and well-being. I pray that Allah helps us and protects us all. Edit 1. I would like to thank everyone for their kind words and attention. It meant so much to me and my family. I appreciate everyone's prayers and concerns. I would also like to point out that I am in no means looking for financial support. I just needed to vent and talk about my situation, and it certainly made me feel better. I can't and won't accept any money from anyone, and I want to thank you again for the lovely gesture. For those of you who are asking about my gender, I am a cis female. For those who have been asking about how I got a charged phone and internet, we have solar power charges and a data SIM, which I use to order meds online, watch the news, talk to friends and relatives, and use the flashlight. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, "My friend in Sudan has fled to the south. He said in Singa, everything is quiet and there's enough food. I know the trip can be dangerous. Maybe talk to others to see if you can join another family making the trip. Good luck. P.S. If you make the trip, don't take any documents that identifies you as a medical student. I hear they might try to recruit you at the checkpoints to treat their wounded. Keep the documents somewhere safe." And another user says, "As someone who lived through the same thing during war in Bosnia, your words resonate with me more than others. It's like you described my childhood. With addition, that shell landed on my grandma's house. We've been shot at from the hills. I could hear bullets hitting the metal fence. My parents were from mixed marriage, so it was much more difficult to stay sane, as if the time came that someone went for my mother just because she was a different nationality and my father protected her. He would be killed too and called a traitor. Guy who taught me fishing was blown up with C4. The family where I got my first bike was found dead. Dad survived bomb attack. Neighbor across the street was bombed 4 times. Windows on my room were full of shrapnel holes, and shrapnels being stuck between double glass window. Been there. Didn't have electricity, no hot water, no food, no gas, no tobacco, no sweets. I can give you only one advice. Run for your life. Try to get out of the country. The situation might be okay for now, but with each day you are risking getting killed or stormed by an enemy. In war, things go from I am sleeping in my bed to I am running for my life pretty fast. I didn't feel the weight of war back then because I was just a kid. We didn't stop playing when the sirens alarmed, but now I feel the weight of it. If I knew back then what I know now, I would have packed my bags and left. Forgot the house, forget the land, forget everything. It's not worth dying for. Sell your stuff. Pay someone to take you guys out. I lost everything but still managed to stand on my feet, to find home, to overcome addiction. But when you lose life, no more managing anything. It's over. Consider that you were stuck there with animals. That's what people in war are. Even worse. One time, some random guy came to my garden, had a coffee, and then pulled a full pocket of earrings. He told my mom to pick one pair for herself because she made him coffee. There was still blood on some of them. Run, my friend. And then the OP doesn't give us an update for about a month, but when the OP comes back, the update is horrifying. The title of the update is probably gonna be my last post ever, but if I die. Hi everyone. Most of you know me as Pickle Nut Juice and some as 3A Jor, but my real name is, and I'm gonna blank out and blur their real name for privacy's sake, and it reads as follows. I'm a 19-year-old female. I have been venting extensively on Reddit ever since the civil war in Sudan started. I want to start off by thanking everyone who gave me their prayers, support, and love. It meant a lot to me, and I will never forget how random strangers on the internet stood by me more than my actual friends. So, truth be told, there has been ups and downs, but God has been watching over us and making sure our bellies are stuffed and our bodies wrapped in warm blankets. And I couldn't be more grateful for what we have right now. It might not be much, but every time I curse the situation I'm in, I remember that there are families who are dealing with even worse issues, and I pray everyone makes it through these difficult times. For the past 2 weeks or so, we've been attacked and held hostage by the RSF. They took our phones and I managed to hide this one inside a box in a refrigerator. Our housekeeper just passed away a few minutes ago from all of the beating and R-wording he had to go through. I saw him getting R-worded with a glass bottle, and it broke while they were doing it to him, and they still kept doing it. We had to wear gloves and dig in to remove the glass pieces and perform something to him, then wrapped him up for the men to take him away so they can bury him. May his soul rest in peace. The RSF are targeting us because they want our cars. They destroyed and robbed all of the cars outside. The ones that they need is the Toyota Tacoma and the Land Cruiser, and other small cars are just milked out of fuel. And they managed to get inside and found so many big cars for them to take away. Now my car is parked right behind them, and they took out the wires, started the car, but it won't move because it's an automatic geared car and it needs the car keys. And we denied that we even know who this car belongs to. I finally managed to convince my mother and my dad that sooner or later we are gonna get killed if we just wait for them to run their business, and that we should take a run for it because we are now fugitives in their eyes. We are planning on going to Bari, which is a nearby city, and it's not safe, but at least we aren't wanted there. But the road to Bari is extremely dangerous. I don't know what's about to happen to me or my family, but for what it's worth, I thought I'd just save my last words here. I want to thank my mother, who fed and raised me, and nursed me when I was at my lowest, and cared for me when no one else did. And to my dad, I want to thank him for helping me pursue my dreaming of becoming a doctor and protecting me at all costs, and raising me to be the woman I am today. And to my best friend, you have been the most loyal friend I could ask for. You stood beside me, and even though you're the most annoying human being on earth, I love you. I really do. My fellow readers, I don't want your empathy or pity. I want you to pray for me to be able to get through this so that I can see the light of the sun with you. And if I don't make it, then I want you to remember that I stood my ground and stayed strong because of you. I pray that Allah protects me and my family. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, "May you have all the luck and blessings I could hope to help you." Another user says, "I will pray for you. I wish the best for you and your family. I hope you can actualize your dreams of becoming a doctor. I am studying to become a doctor too. Thank you for sharing your story. Stay strong." And we don't hear from the OP for a few days, and everyone becomes understandably worried. But 5 days later, the OP comes back with a comment. It was a link to an Instagram video of a person, which we presume to be the OP, filming from the backseat of a car passing over a bridge spanning a river. And it was confirmed in the comments to be the Nile River. And the caption on the video reads, "Happy to say that I am alive and well and officially out of Khartoum." And the OP links a video to them, driving over the bridge. And nothing short of just, relieving. After reading that last post, I really thought it could have been the OP's last words. I thought the OP could have, gotten killed on that journey out. But thank God they survived. And many people in the comments say, "Girl, I'm crying watching this video. This is the best news. We have all been so worried about you and your family. Another user says, I'm so happy for you. I hope you all get to go where you're going safely. You're in our hearts and minds. And then 5 months later, someone asked the OP how they're doing, and the OP replies and says, thank you so much. Me and my family are doing okay. And this is just one of the most horrifying Reddit threads I have ever read. I mean, as we're going through this, we can see the escalation of the Civil War, how the OP says, oh, it's just starting. It's scary, but we should be okay. And then fast forward a post or two, and the OP says that their housekeeper was R-worded to death with a glass bottle. I mean, how horrifying is that? No one should ever have to witness that. And for a 19-year-old girl to have to witness and endure this and take care of her parents, like that is a burden no one should be carrying. It is just heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking and horrible. But thank God that the OP and her family escaped, hopefully safe, and are in, somewhere safer now, and they stay safe. But truly, this was just one of the most horrifying and just truly scary Reddit threads I have ever read. I mean, I really hope the OP is doing better now, and the OP's family. And I hope that other families in Sudan right now who are in a similar position can escape, hopefully unscathed and safe, because the Sudan Civil War started in 2023, and it is currently still ongoing. My 21 male girlfriend, who is 20 female, was R-worded while in the process of cheating on me. I don't know what to do from here. I've been sitting here for like 15 minutes trying to figure out how to start this. My head is completely spinning. My thoughts are just all over the place. I guess with some backstory. I've been dating Sarah, not using real names, for just under 2 years now. She has a close friend, John, who she's known since she was a child. I never liked him. He was always a little creepy, blatantly flirted with Sarah for the entirety of our relationship and made occasional passes that I was not comfortable with. So, cut to like 2 weeks back. Sarah and I were invited to a gathering/party by a mutual friend. I had a workshop for work that night, so I couldn't attend, and with current circumstances, I was never going to be inclined to go anyways. I didn't want Sarah to go either, but she was very adamant, and I guess I didn't want an argument, so I said fine. We ended up running into John later that day, and he mentioned the same party and asked us if we had been invited as well. My girlfriend told him she was going, but I wasn't, and he got this weird smile on his face. And he said something along the lines of, if you're going, I guess I have to go too. Just something about his smile and the way he really said it rubbed me the wrong way. Plus, I didn't want to be possessive, but the idea of both of them together all night at a party did not sit well with me. After we got back to our apartment, I told her, a bit more firmly this time, that I'm not comfortable with her going to a party, especially with him there. She told me I was overreacting and shut down the conversation after that. I'm sure most of you can figure out where this is going. I went to the workshop and she went to the party. It got to be like 2 a.m. and she hadn't gotten home nor was answering my calls. Naturally, I was incredibly worried. About an hour later, one of her friends called me and told me she was found unconscious at the party and driven to the hospital. She was R-worded by John. After spending 2 days, including that night at the hospital, and talking with police, I took her home. She told me John had drugged her and dragged her upstairs where it happened in one of the bedrooms. The house the party was at is very large. She was an absolute mess. She didn't want to go outside. She wasn't eating, had terrible nightmares. I did everything I could to comfort her through this process. I was devastated for her and hated to see her like this, but, and I know this makes me sound like a terrible person, I don't blame her for John assaulting her, but I couldn't get the fact I tried more than once to dissuade her from going to the party. And specifically saying her being with John makes me uncomfortable out of my head. I feel like I could have done more to protect her, and she should have listened to how I felt. Important side note, turns out John is literal living garbage. After her assault, we both felt it was best to get justice. There were drugs in her system, and all the physical indications of our word. We immediately filed a restraining order, and the police opened an investigation. Within the span on a week after news had gotten around, 2 other girls came forward with similar encounters with John. So this guy is basically a serial R-wordist. And cut to now. My girlfriend is still in no better shape than she was 2 weeks ago. She gets panic attacks out of nowhere. She's lost like 15 pounds and absolutely refuses to leave our apartment, even to seek therapy. I was committed to taking care of her and being there for her, but I got a call from one of my close friends, Sam, this morning. It was a long conversation, but it basically boiled down to him, as well as many others at the party that night, saw Sarah flirting with John the entire beginning of the party. According to him and people he had been talking to, she was at the very least matching, if not being the initiator in these exchanges with John. He also recounts that she wasn't blackout drunk or seemingly that out of it, and worst of all, many saw her holding John's hand taking John upstairs. At this point, I feel like I want to vomit. He told me he wanted the situation to cool down a bit before telling me, and was going to tell me after the party what happened, but with her being taken to the hospital under the circumstances, he didn't feel it was the right time. I decided to not assume anything and asked her about the specifics about what happened that night. She tried to tell me the same thing, that she was drugged and dragged to a bedroom, but when I told her what Sam had told me, the color completely drained from her face. She started to panic, and I did my best to calm her down, but it was at least 30 minutes before she could catch her breath to speak. She was sobbing, but she was coherent enough to understand and basically confessed to cheating on me. She said she was drunk and hadn't been out for so long, and she wanted some adventure. She admitted she was the one that took John to the bedroom and wasn't dragged there against her will. She kept apologizing and saying it was a terrible mistake and that nothing else was a lie. He did R-word her. I believe the last part, as far as I can understand now. It was when they were in the bedroom fooling around when he slipped something into her or something like that. Then he forced himself onto her. I don't know what to do anymore. She was R-worded, but to me, the everything before that was her still intending to cheat and actively cheating on me. I am devastated, and I don't even want to look at her right now. I left the apartment and am currently at Sam's house. I don't know anything anymore. She lost her job to the pandemic. I pay rent for the apartment where her name isn't on the lease and groceries. She's become completely emotionally dependent on me the past few weeks. If I did break up with her, she would have nowhere to go. And as much as I resent her, I don't want something terrible happening to her. Please help. I need advice, and I don't know what to do. Edit. There's been a lot of responses in a short time, so I thought it would be best to address some things here. First off, I've been made aware that 2 posts of somewhat similar situations have been posted to the sub in the past 2 weeks or so. I don't know what I could post here to prove this is true without exposing my privacy, so I'm sorry, but all I can do is give you my word. I'm just here looking for advice. I don't think this is something someone should be fantasizing about for a karma farm. It's completely upended my life. Second thing is people questioning Sarah's account of the events. I didn't include every detail because I'm trying to get my thoughts out, but her story matches the other two women who came forward in terms of the pattern of John's behavior. The two other women were also initially in a consensual environment before he drugged them and did something. From what they've said and posted, a large part of the reason they didn't come forward was because it started as consensual and they thought that would make them not be believed. I also don't want to get too graphic, but the nature of Sarah's assault was very violent and not something most anybody would consent to. That may be why he drugs them first as well. She had and still has traces of large bruises around her neck and other parts of her body, as well as scratches and gashes. I don't really doubt at all she was indeed assaulted. The drug found in her system was K. While Sarah did enjoy partying, she never did anything harder than weed. Third, Sarah has been living abroad for school since starting college. Her parents have been made aware of the situation, but coming from a very religious background, while concerned for her well-being, aren't exactly being supportive, nor have been put in the effort to come see her. She never had many close friends for as long as I've known her, other than John. I don't know where she would go if I told her she can't stay at my apartment. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, OP, I'm so very sorry that you're going through this. A very similar thing happened to my friend in college. Almost eerily similar. And at the time, the police told my friend that it's actually relatively common. Without getting too graphic, some drugs can be administered physically without, say, slipping it into someone's drink. My friend was being flirty. They went to hook up and the guy drugged her. Another friend that was with her called me, panicked because she couldn't find her. Once I got there, sober, obviously, I pitched a fit of epic proportions and refused to leave without checking every room, or I'd be calling the police to look instead. The condition we found her in was severe. Very few people would consent to that kind of physical damage. Because I took her to the hospital, and the extent of damage, her boyfriend obviously found out, and then later found out that her intention was to cheat. It was a horrific situation for everyone involved. They lived together off campus. Their lives were super entangled. My friend no longer felt safe alone. And no matter how much we wanted to support her, she didn't feel safe with us. I guess she didn't think we could physically protect her. I don't know. So she depended on her boyfriend 24/7, and he was absolutely wrecked emotionally, both from what happened to her and how betrayed he felt. He told her he would support her as someone who cared about her, and they'd reassess the relationship later. It took almost 6 months before she returned to school, and in the end, they didn't stay together. Only you know what you can handle, OP. It's obvious that you care about this girl. 2 weeks is just a tiny flash of time when dealing with the aftermath of this kind of violent assault. I suggest finding her a therapist who will do Zoom appointments. As much as you resent what she initiated, she will literally never forgive herself for putting herself in this position in the first place, and she no doubt feels fathoms of shame and guilt already. If you can allow her to stay with you for a few weeks of therapy at least, that's wonderful. Perhaps look into victims' benefits where you are located. They should pay for therapy at a minimum. In California, we have victim witness. Also look into hooking her up with a victim's advocate. Honestly, your girlfriend may not even be in an emotional state to make any decisions on how to move out if that's what you need. A victim advocate can help her. If you can bear it, just be there. Be kind and give her a bit of time to recover before you give her the boot. She's not entitled to anything from you, but you sound like a good person. Try to be her friend for a while if nothing else. It sounds like she literally has no one else. Hugs. And someone else says, wow, I think you need to step away from this relationship. At the very least, she did lie and cheat on you. No matter how it ended, she did lie and cheat. I'm terribly sorry for how it ended for her, and I'm sorry she got hurt. There is never an excuse to do that to anyone. So I can't even imagine what she is going through. That isn't an excuse to cheat and lie, though. And someone replies and says, agreed. OP should likely end this since she fully admits to intending to cheat. Although it is terrible what happened afterwards, it doesn't discount what she did before. However, and this is important, I believe that she will likely frame such a scenario as, my boyfriend broke up with me because I was R-worded. And I don't think that this is a massive stretch, since she has already demonstrated that she can be deceitful through her unfaithfulness. In which case, OP had better be prepared to be seen as the bad guy in the aftermath, as people will also likely side with her over him. All conjecture though. And someone else says, probably going to be unpopular, but I'd say break up with her. What happened to her was horrible, but you shouldn't date a cheater. Rather than dating her, maybe stay by her side as a friend. Get her into therapy if she isn't already. But yeah, that's not a good relationship to keep going forward. And then the OP comes back 2 weeks later, and let's get into it. Hey everyone, sorry I've taken so long for this update and lack of replies on the previous post. I needed some time to sort out the situation, but I did read most as many replies as I could, and I appreciate all the advice and messages, especially from those who had been put in similar situations as I. I guess I should start by clearing a few things up. First off, to everyone who thought my story had holes in it, it definitely did, and I'm sorry for that. At the time, and even now, I was missing a lot of information and was filling in holes as best as I could with what I had. I also didn't want the post to get too long, so I left out information that I guess would have painted a better picture of my situation. I'll try my best to include those missing details. If you're just interested in the update, skip down a few paragraphs. So, details about John. He is part of Sarah and I's social circle and lives quite close to us. Some of the behavior from John towards Sarah that made me uncomfortable throughout the course of our relationship included constantly making comments about her body, putting his arm around her every chance he could, asking her to go with him on trip to Europe last summer, just the two of them, poking her breasts when she's wearing tight clothing, and saying things like, I'm lucky I met her when I did, or she would have been with him by now, etc. It's not any one thing, but a culmination of everything that made me uncomfortable with her spending a lot of time with him. She never encouraged this behavior, at least when I was around, but didn't actively discourage it either, despite we openly talking to her about my boundaries. She just brushed it off as them knowing each other for so long and being comfortable with one another. A few smaller details I guess were relevant I should mention. One, we are not in the US. The pandemic, while still obviously an issue in our country, in our area is relatively pandemic free. And everyone going to the party Sarah went to were part of our larger social circle. It was at a large condo a friend of ours was renting for the summer. It was not some open invite party with 100+ people. Still dumb, I know. There were 30-ish, maybe 40 people there, so in hindsight, yeah, no one should have been at the party to begin with. Lastly, clearing up both Sarah and I's financial situation. I am lucky enough to have my parents paying for my tuition, whatever scholarships didn't cover, so I can focus my resources on just day-to-day living costs like rent, groceries, etc. Sarah, on the other hand, was pretty much thrown to the wolves after finishing high school. Her parents, like I stated in my edit, are very religious and very controlling. So they told Sarah they were only going to pay for her schooling if she went to a local college. She refused and came to my school. She lived in residency for her first 2 years, which was covered by financial aid. I got my apartment about a year ago, and with the pandemic and her not wanting to go back home, we decided it would be best if she moved in with me. Her finances are basically completely tied up on tuition and student loans, so I offered to keep paying full rent despite her living with me full time. And now onto the actual update. Oh boy. I wish I could say things have gotten more clear in the past week, but honestly, it's been a total cluster F, and it's only gotten worse. I spent a few days at Sam's reaching out to friends, trying to get a clear picture of what happened that night before going back to talk to Sarah. I got told the same story multiple times, that she was the only one who started flirting with John and he led him upstairs. I should say right now, in my first conversation with Sarah, confronting her, she didn't explicitly say she had intended to sleep with him that night. She just confirmed she took him upstairs. She was basically having a panic attack throughout the entire conversation, so I had a hard time pushing for clarity. So, by this point in my heart, I was trying to find any excuse at all for her to save a relationship, but my mind was telling me that the relationship was over, at least for the time being. But as many of you commented, despite my obviously grief in losing a 2-year relationship, I decided I would be willing to let her stay in my apartment again, rent-free, to at least the end of October, to sort out other living arrangements and support. I called her about 3 days ago, after staying at Sam's, and told her I'm willing to listen to her side of the story, but I need the complete truth about everything. And she agreed, so I went back to my apartment later that evening. We sat down and I asked her about what really happened that night. She started crying right away, but not panicking, and told she had to tell me something about herself. Sarah has always been into the partying scene more than me. I've never really been comfortable around drugs in that environment in general, but I went with her anyways about once a month or so. Her, on the other hand, would have girls' nights out and parties pretty much every weekend. Right at the beginning of our relationship, I told her I'm not really comfortable being with someone that is involved with hard drug use. My brother has a history of addiction, and I've seen what it can do to somebody and the people around them. She told me that's fine since she only drinks and smokes weed occasionally. Well, it turns out for about a year now, she started doing harder drugs at parties when I'm not there. And her girls' nights were often just her and some from our social circle, John included, going to a friend's apartment to do mushrooms. I was shocked to say the least, and I didn't even know what to think in that moment. I just tried to ask her more about what happened on the night she was assaulted, and if she was intending on cheating on me that night. She comes clean and tells me she did lead John upstairs, but swears she wasn't trying to sleep with him, but wanted drugs. He told her it was booger sugar, but obviously it was not. Since only F, I can't say the drug, but F, it's the notorious drug that makes people lean over, and alcohol showed up in her system at the hospital. She told me he immediately started to kind of come towards her, and she tried to fight him off, but eventually she was too drugged out to fight back. After consoling her for a while, I asked her what her relationship with John was really like before, and if they did anything together before what happened that night. She admitted that they had made out a few times before, around Christmas last year, but promised it didn't go any further than that. She was begging me to forgive her and that she needs me in her life. That she was just in a rebellious phase because of her upbringing, I didn't know what to believe anymore, and still don't, to be honest. I just was completely overwhelmed by everything. So I told her I needed to clear my head and left again. Sam was nice enough to let me stay at his place again. I talked to some of my friends she said she was doing drugs with, and they confirmed. I was pretty upset at them for hiding it from me, but they told me she basically forced them to keep it a secret from me. It feels like so much of my relationship was a lie. She wasn't the person I thought she was, and she lied constantly for who knows how long. At this point, my mind is basically made up, so I call her and told her it's over. But she can stay at my apartment until the end of October, but only if she finds a therapist and gets help during that time. She basically lost it during the call. But my mind was made up, so I just said I'd be staying at Sam's for a while and hung up. I wish that was the last of the stuff that happened, but literally a day after that, I start getting spammed with hate messages and calls from friends, relatives, and people I don't even know. Turns out, she's posted all over social media about how I was breaking up with her because she was R-worded and was kicking her out with nowhere to go in these pandemic times. She also wrote that I've been emotionally abusing her after her assault, victim blaming her, and stopping her from getting a therapist. I'm completely lost. I'm furious, heartbroken. I can't even describe all the emotions I felt. I called her again that night and told her she has 2 weeks to move out now, and I don't want to hear from her again. I had to spend the past week playing damage control, trying to clear my name on social media, calling friends and family. I was ostracized by coworkers, though luckily my boss was on my side. I was getting doxxed, death threats. My life basically fell apart. Sam, thank God, was completely understanding through all of this and said I could stay at his place until Sarah moved out. She's moving out on Friday, but I don't want to go back to that apartment anymore. I've had to cut out friends. My reputation is now in the garbage. I lost the first and only person I've ever loved. I don't know anymore. I low-key want to do something drastic, but I'll find a therapist sooner or later. I just feel numb to everything. I don't even know if I'm right or wrong in this situation anymore. I hope I haven't rambled on too much. I know this post is really long, but thank you, really, for everyone who showed support in the last post. It meant a lot. Edit. Someone's comment made me realize she was still lying to me the second time I talked to her. She changed her story about what she was drugged with, and I didn't even realize. I was not told by the hospital what she had in her system, and I'm not very knowledgeable on drugs in general. All that information I had came from Sarah. I don't even know if she was drugged against her will at this point anymore. God, I'm doubting everything now. This is not the person I thought she was. I don't even care. She's out of my life now. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, yo man, this whole situation is screwed up. But right now, you gotta worry about yourself and not the friends, the apartment, or even her. I know it sounds dumb, but those kind of thoughts can turn south really quick. Do you have a friend you can maybe crash with for a few days, or someone you can sit down and talk to? If not, feel free to reach out to me, man. Even if you just want to mess around, but no one should be alone after going through something like this. And the OP just replies and says, thanks, man. I have a good friend I can stay with for the time being. I really appreciate the offer. I'm still trying to put pieces back together at the moment. I'll reach out if I need. And someone else replies and says, dude, not to be callous, but you have bigger fish to fry. She publicly accused you of abuse. That can go south pretty quickly. You need to consult an attorney about combating the claims she's made against you, because those could lead to criminal charges. Generally speaking, a cease and desist letter from a lawyer should be enough to get her to take things off of social media and revoke the claims. Best of luck. And someone else says, oh my God, While reading this, I actually thought this girl you loved is human garbage, but felt a little bad because maybe she was really truthful. But nope, you reject her and boom, she goes nuts. I'm sorry, my man. Nobody should have to endure what you're going through. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you can get over all this someday. On a side note, the friends she did drugs with and covered her, you said they were your friends as well. They are not. And someone else says, if your friends believe her without listening to your side of the story, they weren't real friends to begin with. I know it has to be hard, but use this as an opportunity to hit the reset button and start over. You will find love again. I promise. Stay with Sam for a while and allow yourself time to get it all figured out. Look into getting a different apartment, the options for breaking your lease, etc. If she was stupid enough to make the post on social media, print them out or take a screenshot of them. Depending on what she said, you might be able to sue her for defamation of character. Oh, and make sure she pays for her share of the rent or lease breaking fee while you're at it. And the OP replies and says, yeah, they were always more her friends than they were mine. I see that now. I mean, they would go out together way more often because I'm not much of a party person. I know who has my back now. And man, just what a mess of a situation. I mean, the OP just got their life basically ruined. I mean, their girlfriend got apparently R-worded, and he just tried his best to console her and help her out and help her recover. And he turns out she was lying to him, and he doesn't even know what's true. We don't even know what's true anymore. And when he says, hey, you lied to me, you cheated on me, I think our relationship is done. He even offered to let her stay for 2 months after, and then she posted all of these horrible things on her social media, calling him an abuser. I mean, like, this guy got his entire life turned upside down just like that. And I mean, it truly is heartbreaking because this guy was just trying to be a supportive boyfriend, help his girlfriend out, figure out the situation, try to reach the truth of it. He was being understanding, talking to people, trying to figure out the truth and not jumping to conclusions. And his girlfriend just flips on him, tries to ruin his life, make all his friends turn on him, etc. I mean, it really is sad. And also, I hope John goes to jail because, I mean, there's 3 victims of John now, 2 that have spoken out, and Sarah. And hopefully this whole scenario doesn't mess up him being able to go to jail, if that makes sense. Some people in the comment section were worried about that. They're like, hopefully this whole mess doesn't mess up that other stuff and doesn't obstruct the justice, which hopefully it doesn't. But, I mean, it's so sad for all the victims, and hopefully they can get justice soon. And the OP, I mean, their life just got turned upside down, and just a horrible, hot mess of a situation. And we have never received another update. So I wonder what ended up happening with this entire situation. What happened to John? Did he go to jail? What happened to the OP? What happened with his ex-girlfriend, etc.? I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions, but man, this was one hell of a Reddit thread. My 32 female boyfriend, who is 34 male, murdered several houseplants in the span of one afternoon and is mad that I am sad about it. And trust me, you guys, this one gets dark, but the post reads as follows. So I have a green thumb and have spent a lot of time, energy, and money on plants. One particular plant reproduces by creating little offshoots that grow off of it until they become mature and grow their own root systems. I've had this plant for many, many years and have been so happy to see it finally making little babies. This afternoon, my boyfriend ripped more than half the babies off of the plant and threw them in the dumpster outside. I just discovered this less than 20 minutes ago. The plant is mutilated since he ripped these things off, leaving large areas stripped of leaves and some vines that have no chance of recovery and will have to be cut off at the base. I looked through the trash for the baby plants to see if I could maybe save some of them, but they're gone. I just confronted him about this, and he sounded very annoyed and said, "I didn't know you have to wait so long for it to make more of those." I'm devastated that he killed all those baby plants and badly injured the adult plants. I feel so sad about it, but he doesn't seem to care and is just playing games. I'm furious that he mutilated a plant without asking or telling me, especially since he has no knowledge about plants at all. He claims he thought he was helping it. What should I do? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "Please leave him. I too was in the same situation. He destroyed my houseplants, which I had spent hours on, by pouring bleach on them after a fight when I had left the apartment to get back at me. We are 24 female and 29 male. And I'm telling you right now that your man knew they were important to you, and this is a major red flag. My best advice would be to get out while you can, and before you're in a situation where it escalates to something other than your houseplants. Like it did for me literally 2 months after that incident, where I ended up with 17 stitches in my face, unable to work for 3 weeks, and almost $5,000 in medical debt for my ER visit. I understand you might care for him deeply, and it will be hard, but I'm worried that if you forgive him, you're sending the message that something like that is okay in the future. Don't waste any more of your time or resources on someone who doesn't respect things that mean a lot to you. It's like directly clowning on you, which is something that shouldn't be okay or done by someone who loves you ever." And the OP then replies and says, "Yikes. Oh my God. I'm glad you got out of that situation. I will consider what you say." And another user says, "Leave, leave, leave. I had a boyfriend like this once who tried to ruin things that belonged to me whenever he was angry enough to feel justified. A sure sign of extremely poor emotional boundaries and judgment." And another user says, "Kick his ass to the curb." And then we don't get an update for 2 years, but the OP comes back with a chilling update. This update is titled, "My boyfriend murdered several houseplants in the span of 1 afternoon and is mad that I am sad about it. Update: he has now killed my cat." So a few years ago, I posted about how my boyfriend, M34 at that time, had utterly mangled several baby plants and 1 adult plant with no remorse whatsoever. I wanted to update you all on what happened afterward. Well, several of you told me to run. Reddit, you were right. About a year after that, we broke up when it was clear he had been lying to me about some huge, important relationship issues that will not be central to this post. Marriage, money, our shared business, other women, etc. After we had the final blow-up fight and I left, things got worse, and his true colors came through again. I should have listened to your warnings. This time, the victim was one of my cats. I had 2 cats, a calico and her baby, a fluffy tuxedo cat. This tuxedo cat was my absolute darling, and I adored him more than anything else that breathed. Unfortunately, my now ex knew this. When I decided to leave him, I packed up my suitcase and booked it to my friend's house. So he decided to poison my cat. He called me saying the cat was ill, so I drove to the veterinary hospital immediately. When I received the lab results, the vet outright said, "It looks like he's been poisoned." His kidney levels were literally off the charts, as in the machine could not longer accurately even read how high they were. The vet described it as, quote, "His kidneys are basically solid." I had a previous cat who had a genetic condition that predisposed him to kidney disease, and at 14 he died from it. When he passed, his kidney levels were nowhere remotely near as bad as this previously 100% healthy 6-year-old cat. Hours later, I had to decide to put him down. I called the hospital and gave them the address where I wanted the ashes shipped. Before they were shipped, ex-boyfriend went and picked them up. He denied me having the ashes, saying I owed him the entirety of the cat's final veterinary bill before he would even let me have the ashes. I never received them. When I tried to pick up my other cat, the calico, he said he would only give her to me if I paid him $1,500. Feeling I had no legal way to reacquire my cat, I cut my losses to get away from him and moved across the state. I wish that was half of it, and it was certainly the most horrible thing he did. He made every attempt he could to ruin all my social connections and went out of his way to extort and harass me, including showing up to the place I had been sheltered and demanding to come inside, and texting those inside to come out, thus me having to move so far away. I lost my relationship, my home city, several friendships, and both of my cats in the span of 3 weeks. He harassed me, my now boyfriend, and several of my friends via text for well over a year. He is now blocked by nearly all of us. I post this as a warning for everyone who posts here with similar stories. Yes, Reddit is quick to jump to suggesting breakups, but when people tell you, yikes, OMG, huge red flag, etc., maybe they are right. Don't ignore the red flags like I did. I wish I'd left with my cats and run home to the other side of my state the same day he destroyed and killed my plants. I let myself think it was a one-off thing. Obviously, it wasn't. I'm still emotionally and financially recovering from this, and I can never bring back my cat or recover my other cat. The good news is I'm now doing way better. I have a new supportive and loving boyfriend, and he got me a new cat. He loves me, and we just bought a house together. Life is actually pretty peachy, but it only started to get better when I completely cut the last guy out of my life. I'm honestly doing pretty well for myself, and can't wait for what this new year brings. Thanks for trying to help me, Reddit. As long as I waited, I'm still glad that your voices were in the back of my mind, helping to enforce the decision when I finally did leave. You guys and gals are awesome. Happy 2023. Edit. Some people have asked why I left my other cat with him. I didn't. He stole her. I attempted to reacquire several times, as the vet bills for her were in his name. It is very hard to prove legally that she is my cat. I adopted her, cared for her, fed her every day, etc., but that doesn't hold up in court the way names on a vet bill will. From my limited understanding of property and pet law, I'm not a lawyer and could be wrong, and I'm open to that. He refused to give her to me, at first asking for money, and then simply refusing. A friend even offered to help me break in and get her. However, I am in a state where it is legal to shoot if you enter a person's property unannounced, and further, I'm not interested in breaking and entering charges, nor charges of pet theft. Believe me, I want her and fear for her every day. I tried as best as I could, but all my further options are illegal. Suggestions for legal acquisition are welcome, but please, no more emails of disgust that I left her with him. Believe me, I already hurt over it. Edit number 2, also the question, why didn't I call the cops, is coming up. 100% because I was scared. Previous times I've called the cops have not been great interactions. Doesn't seem to matter to them what was happening before they showed up if the dude says everything is fine when they arrive. I just fled. Surely the statute of limitations for something like this has not passed. I'm not a legal expert, and don't know anything about animal abuse laws. I've been focusing on getting to safety and going to therapy. Of course, I think what he did was illegal, but not everybody can just call the cops in every situation. This was scary, so I fled. I could get a lawyer to advise me in the future, and of course, I want justice for my cat. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, wait, so within a year of leaving a horrifically abusive relationship, you get into a new relationship and bought a pet and house together? OP, please be careful. Hopefully this new guy is a dreamboat and it's fine, and this is an overreaction, but that's not a lot of time being single to adjust to a healthy normal in the 2 years since your first post. It's very common for toxic men to date women who have just left unhealthy or abusive relationships because it's easy to swoop in and be the good guy just by being better than the abusive ex. And as long as they stay better than the ex, they can get away with being toxic in their own way. Abusive relationships mess with our minds and our sense of normal, which is why toxic people like to date people who have just left abusive situations. Hopefully, I'm overreacting, but buying a house and a pet within 18 months of dating is very fast-paced, especially without that year being single to focus on healing and being okay by yourself after that ordeal. And another user says, get the veterinary report. Give it to the cops. The boy needs serious jail time. And this ended up being the OP's last ever post because the OP's profile has since been deleted, but this post was from 4 years ago, so hopefully from that time and within that time, the OP's ex-boyfriend has since been arrested and is in jail for hopefully a very, very long time. Need help with serial prowler. Originally posted to r/RBI, and the post reads as follows. Hello. My husband and I discovered a prowler walking around the back of our townhouse a few nights ago. We later discovered he had been here 6 weeks earlier, at almost exactly the same time. We are furious and terrified. We effed up by not being diligent by closing blinds / keeping a light on back there, and not paying great attention to our security cameras. I will admit this. We have since remedied all of those issues, seriously beefed up our security, placed more cameras, etc. After getting a lot of great suggestions from locals on Nextdoor / my brother, who is in law enforcement, we called the police right after it happened and shared the second piece of footage as soon as we discovered it. We shared these videos with all of our neighbors and provided them with the same tips we received, along with dowels for their sliding glass doors. We have the means to protect ourselves, and I am proficient in using those means. We cannot have dogs here, or I would have gotten one immediately. My fear is this. The police just accepted the footage, advised they will pay attention to the area, and advised us to keep calling when he comes back, given the repeated peeping incidents. I fear that he will escalate, and who's to say it won't be next time. I am terrified, and I would love any / all advice on how to navigate this or figure out who this is. So far, we have done the following. Shared this footage with our apartment complex, police, neighbors, and Nextdoor. No one has recognized him yet. Shared our contact info with all neighbors and provided them with tools / help fortifying their own townhouses. Gone to the apartment complexes nearby to share the footage to see if they recognize him. No luck yet. Reached out to our local news station in hopes they will get the word out. They have passed it along to their reporters. and fortified all exterior windows/doors and installed motion activated lighting/additional cameras. And then the OP gives 2 links to the footage, and let's react to it. This is my first time seeing it, and let's see it. All right, so we see that this is the OP's backyard, it looks like, with a sliding glass door, and immediately I have goosebumps. There is this guy walking up to the OP's back door, I assume. I don't know what time this is. Oh, it looks like 11:17 at night. And this guy is just peering into their window, which is terrifying. I have goosebumps all over. This weirdo just walked up, peered inside, and looks like he's walking away. Looks like he walks back, and he continues on. It looks like he has a mask on, and I guess people can't recognize him. And then let's get into the OP's second piece of footage. Oh, wow, we see this guy walking up immediately. He puts on a mask, and once again, he's just creeping around, and he just looks, this time he like kind of gets spooked, it looks like. But he's like looking for something. I assume this is like the OP's like living room. I mean, that's where most sliding doors go, unless it's like their bedroom has a sliding door. But yeah, this guy just peers in. I think he looks up and maybe sees the OP or hears something, and he tries to get out of there. But that is just horrifying. I mean, so scary how this creep is just lurking around the OP's backyard. I mean, that is so effed up. And hopefully the OP can call the police and they can do something about this, and hopefully this guy leaves them alone. But let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, I get wanting to have him get caught, but one of my first instincts would be to print out and tape up a sign inside the window saying, smile, you're on camera, and the police have been notified. I do like the idea of motion lights. I also wonder if it would be worth looking into a motion-activated sound recording. While you can't have dogs, what about an audio clip of a German Shepherd barking? Another user says, the fact that he masks up before peeking in is pretty disturbing. Luckily, I would think the motion lights would scare a guy like this off. He doesn't want to be seen. Stay safe. And someone else says, motion-activated lights. Creepers hate them and will usually run when they activate. He clearly knows about the cameras and thinks he's clever with the surgical mask. He also appears to be someone who would blend into a suburban environment, which makes him even creepier in my opinion. Seriously though, get the brightest motion-activated lights you can find. They're good for not only running off weirdos like this, but also alerting you and possibly even your neighbors immediately, giving you a much better chance of responding. He feels safe in the dark. Take it away from him. And someone else says, yeah, F that. Dude is thinking about breaking in. Hasn't seen a specific reason yet. Make changes ASAP. Bright motion sensor lights are a start. Lights on indoors and curtains, I'd say, are next. And God, that is just so terrifying. And unfortunately, you guys, I hate to have to say this, but the OP never gave us an update. So I don't know what ended up happening, but those footage clips are scary enough. And God, it's just so scary. And also for future kind of things like that I react to, if you'd like to see me with a camera and kind of a face cam of sorts, where I can have my own reaction while reading to these stories, if this video gets 10,000 likes, I'll start introducing myself and my face to these videos. I think it could be a cool addition. But yeah, anyways, back to kind of about the story. This story is so scary, and I really hope the OP stays safe, because who knows what this guy wants to do. Is he just a creeper that kind of gets off to peering into people's, living rooms or houses? Or is he planning something even more sinister, such as scoping out on when to break in? And who knows if he's armed? Who knows what sort of mentality he's in? if he's crazy, if he'll kill you. Who knows? I mean, people like this are psychopaths enough, but hopefully this guy just stops or the police arrest him and he goes away for a long, long time, because this is just so scary and just psychopathic. A stranger on the internet, 34 male, messaged me, 18 female, to let me know that my boyfriend, 19 male, and I are all over a couples swapping website. Throwaway, because all of my friends know my main account. And I'm sorry if the grammar in this post is all over the place. It's late here, and I'm kind of freaking out. For the sake of privacy, I'm going to call my boyfriend Ryan and the guy who messaged me Craig. Some background. I've been with Ryan for 6 months. The relationship is fun and great. Now, let's just get straight into it. I was browsing social media before bed when Facebook alerted me that a non-friend was requesting to send me a message. Curious, I opened it and was greeted with a shock. He stopped replying after my second question. Craig, so heard that you two are into couple swapping, etc. LOL. Me. What? Craig, y'all are all over a site for that. Not trying to be a creep at all or odd about it. This would be our first time doing anything like that. Me. Can you send me screenshots of that stuff? Sorry if I sound rude. I don't think you're creepy. It's just that, as far as I know, my partner and I aren't on any sites for swapping or anything else intimate. Ryan isn't picking up his phone. It's late. I think that someone might have taken our images and put them on some sort of meetup website, and I have no idea what the ETC entailed. And since we were contacted by a man in his 30s, the site must say that we're older than the 18/19-year-old kids we are. I'm also scared because Craig's profile says that he is from the same city that Ryan and I are from. So whatever site we're on has our relative location on it. Maybe Ryan has something to do with it? I want to know how I should proceed from here. Please help. Update. So after posting this last night, I was exhausted and fell asleep. Craig messaged me again a half hour ago and then stopped responding. I'm hoping for screenshots soon. These are the texts. Craig said, sorry I was asleep. I'll try to find that stuff. My wife and I deleted our profile. Me. Yeah, sorry about this mess. I don't know how this could happen unless there was bots or my boyfriend was trying to cheat on me. Craig. No, he wasn't trying to cheat. The profiles had both of you. At this point, I'm afraid it's Ryan. I don't want it to be. He won't answer my text. And then the OP makes another update the next day, and it reads as follows. Thank you to everyone who has responded. Number 1, something I didn't make clear in the original post is that the first message from Craig was from early January. I hadn't seen it until last night because my Facebook settings have it, so I only get alerted to messages from people who aren't my friends, nor I have given permission to talk to me when I'm in the app or on the website. Last night was the first time I had gone on Facebook in about a month. Number 2, at this point, I'm just waiting to hear back from Ryan still. I'm leaning towards Craig is just some creep, but Ryan's silence is becoming increasingly worrying. I still am going to check similar sites to make sure none of my pictures are being used. I will update again when this is all figured out. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, as a couple that regularly participate in similar sites, this kind of stuff is incredibly common. A guy likes the idea of intimate chat and fantasizing about either a 3-person intimacy or swapping. So he'll create a profile without his significant other's knowledge and pretending to be on there with his significant other and chat with other couples. It's incredibly frustrating as real couples looking for other couples and incredibly common. They are pretty easy to figure out after some experience also. The way it normally happens is we start chatting with a couple. After a couple of days, we realize that we've only communicated with the male half. We ask for the two women to voice verify via phone or Skype so we know both couples are who they say they are. Dude ghosts or deflects back to intimate talk. Reverse image search often leads to their Facebook profiles, or searching their email, or their names and location. Regardless, it's easy enough to find them since most guys that do this aren't exactly careful. At that point, a decision is made. Either we're pissed off enough at the dude that will contact his significant other over Facebook and rat him out, or we just make a note and move on. We actually once busted my cousin's best friend's fiance doing this. Tracked down the a-hole Facebook profile. Found he was a mutual friend with our cousin, and then found he was engaged to cousin's best friend. As we suspected, she didn't know he was doing this. So as a couple who have been on the other end of this, we're leaning towards your boyfriend being an a-hole rather than this being a scam. And the OP replies and says, well, how should I approach him about this? I don't have any evidence besides the messages from Craig. And the user replies back to the OP and says, it's difficult. He has the trusty fallback that real couples that, like other couples, keep it in our pocket if anyone were to stumble across our profile on a site. The quote, oh crap, someone stole our pictures and made a fake profile. And yeah, it never happens. If people steal pics, it's not vanilla pics from Facebook. Unless you two are Ken and Barbie with a very racy pictures on Facebook, your pics weren't stolen. So you needed cooperation from Craig. You need to know which sites he found you guys on. Create a fake profile on that site and find other profiles in your area. Chances are you will stumble across the suspended account. Also browse the ads on Craigslist and see if any of the pics or descriptions match you guys. But really, without Craig's help, there's nothing you can do besides snooping on internet history on all PCs and phones. Hopefully, Craig will cooperate. Couples are big on honesty and consent. It's what differentiates us from cheaters. So hopefully he'll give you the details out of a sense of morality. There is always the chance that this is an innocent mistake. Maybe he tracked down the wrong person by mistake. But honestly, we've lived this exact scenario 3 times in the past year alone. It's very, very common for men to catfish couples. When we were new in the lifestyle and didn't know any better, we even had a few, my wife can't make it tonight. Do you mind if it's just the 3 of us? Attempts. And then the OP replies and says, yeah, none of my pictures on Facebook even show my body in any capacity, only my face. And then the user replies back and says, without evidence, all you can do is tell your boyfriend what happened and gauge his response. Without assistance from Craig, you have nothing to go on. I just hope your boyfriend doesn't have intimate pictures of you, because we've been sent countless intimate pictures of wives and girlfriends by catfishing husbands and boyfriends. I really hope for your sake that I'm wrong and this is just a case of mistaken identity. Maybe we're just sour because it's happened to us so many times. I really hope so for your sake, but the circumstances sound just a bit too familiar. And someone else says, that's deeply weird. I guess there are 3 likely explanations. Number 1, this guy is making things up. Is your profile picture you and your boyfriend of just you? Would a random person have any way to know you have a boyfriend? This sounds unlikely to me, but who knows? Number 2, some random person has made a profile for you guys. He or she likes getting messages but doesn't want to put their own picture up, or they want to cause chaos for you somehow. This is possible, I guess, but sounds unlikely. More likely if you have enemies. Number 3, your boyfriend likes getting these messages, or is doing it, but claims every time that you are suddenly unavailable. Does this sound likely to you? You know him, we don't. I would suspect websites normally have more than just a profile picture. Who has access to plenty of photos of you, including some at least slightly intimate ones? And then the OP comes back the next day with an update, and let's get into it. The OP says, "Thank you all so much again. All of y'all have made this day easier. Also, I want to mention that I hope I never came across as shaming this community. All of y'all from that community were so kind and helpful. And my problem with all of this wasn't that the concept of that was scary, just the fact that my information and photos were being used without my knowledge. So let's get into it. Ryan ended up texting me that he wanted to see me. I got a bad vibe, so I asked him to call me instead. You all were right. It was him. Apparently, the fantasy of doing that with other couples was a special interest for him, and he used those sites to jerk it. I couldn't find the profiles of any of the sites because he had our ages of listed as 23 and 24, and I had been searching couples 18 and 19. Craig couldn't find our information because when Ryan received my text last night, he went into damage control mode and deleted everything. He had used inappropriate photos of me to lure people into chatting with him. I'm young and relatively attractive, so I guess it was good bait. I threatened to call and tell my dad, who is a sheriff, about all of this if he doesn't take down all of it. I'm meeting him at a coffee shop tomorrow to look through his phone and laptop to ensure all my photos are gone. Needless to say, we're done. Craig said he was sorry and that he didn't want to speak with me ever again, and that him and his wife only were interested in couple swapping because they thought Ryan and I were attractive. I still don't know how the F he found me on Facebook, and he stopped responding, so I blocked him. Today was kind of a horrible day. And then let's get into the top comments. One user says, OP, I read your updates, and I'm so sorry that this has happened to you. Needless to say that I think it was very good that you so firmly decided to not give him another chance. I just feel that I have to say one more thing. I would tell your dad anyways. Even if Ryan shows you an empty phone and an empty laptop, you have no idea if he's made a backup somewhere, an extra hard drive, or a cloud service. Besides, your photos were out on the internet for God knows how long. There's a big chance that someone else has these photos on their computer now. There's a reason why posting images of unknown participants is illegal. I recommended that you tell your dad and report Ryan. And the OP replies and says, yeah, I'll definitely talk to my dad. It's going to be an awkward conversation, but you're right. Ryan did something terrible to me, and who knows who else he's stolen photos from. OP is hit by a lunatic while walking their dog. The original post is titled, I was hit by a lunatic while walking my dog yesterday. The police told me there were others that were hurt yesterday. I feel the need to compare stories. Are any of his other victims on Reddit? And the post reads as follows. The most insane thing that has ever happened to me occurred Sunday morning. I was walking my dog in Windsor Park when I noticed a white older hatchback driving on the wrong side of the road. There was a young couple walking their dog on the side of the road, and the white car started backing up. The couple walked faster around the corner, but still on the street. When the white car sped up and turned the corner, in reverse, clearly trying to hit them. He kept turning and went up onto the yard of the house on the corner, and the couple understandably started screaming. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I started running with my dog, and the couple screamed at me to call 911. I was so thunderstruck, it hadn't even occurred to me. I pulled out my phone and saw that the white car was heading towards me. I ran through my neighbor's yards with my dog, and the white car multiple times went over the curb and into a yard and then pulled away. At one point, he pulled into a driveway in my path and just glared at me. I don't remember how I got around him, but I kept running. He tried backing up to hit the couple, and then he came after me again. I heard him come up over the curb behind me, and I knew he was heading for me. I made it almost to my neighbor's door, about 15 feet away, when he struck me from behind and sent me flying. That asshole ran over my dog's leg, and my dog started screaming. I'm on the ground on my back, and I told myself, "Get up, he's going to kill you." I grabbed my glasses and shoes and pulled my limping dog into the carport. And during that time, the white car just drove off. Riding this feels unreal. The police arrested him not long after he hit me, and they told me he had had a spree that morning and others were hurt. I went to the ER to make sure I wasn't seriously hurt. Thankfully, I wasn't. And the nurses told me the perpetrator had been in the ER earlier and was now in jail. They also told me that there were several other people in the ER that he had hurt. They couldn't tell me how many or what happened to them, of course. I would like to communicate with the others if they are open to it. I think I need to know the whole story, as if somehow that will help me make sense of what happened. Are any of you others on Reddit? And no commenters that responded were involved, but let's get into some of the other comments. One user says, "How the hell is this not on local news?" And the OP says, "To be honest, I hope this post gets an investigation by the local news. The police officer told me they would likely not be informing me of any other details, and that I probably just read about it in the Statesman." And another user says, "Lucky you escaped. Wishing you a speedy recovery. Is the dog okay?" And the OP replies and says, "Thanks. Yes, the vet said his leg is bruised but not broken." And another user says, "The driver needs to catch some assault with a deadly weapon charge. Maybe even some attempted murder just for kicks. People like this don't need to be in public." And then the OP gives us an update a whole year later. And let's get into it. It reads, "It's now been a year, as of Sunday, since I and others were attacked. So I thought I would update everyone on what happened. After I posted my story, I was interviewed by 2 detectives from Austin PD. It was interesting being inside APD headquarters because it's dimly lit and very quiet in the hallways and interview rooms. I'm assuming it's because the detectives and officers are often in emotionally intense situations and the quiet and dark environment is the least stimulating for them. The detectives told me there were 6 other victims and they were interviewing us in descending order of severity. I was the 3rd, I think they interviewed. They recorded my statement about what happened and said they'd already had the suspect in a lineup and he had been identified by several other victims. They said he'd already been charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. When I asked the detectives why he wasn't being charged with attempted murder, and they said aggravated assault doesn't require proof of motive and is a little easier to prove in court. Then a day or 2 later, I think one of the local TV stations did a story and posted a photo of the perpetrator. That was the first time I'd seen a photo of him, and I recognized him immediately. I was glad my memory of him had been so clear. He had a shaved head with tattoos of what looks like snakes all over his scalp. He looked really frightening in the photo. And I remember one of the officers, I think, telling me he had a gun in the car. One random thing I remembered was the song that was playing in his car when he was attacking me. At first, being a child of the 80s, I thought he was playing Tom Tom Club's Genius of Love. It was surreal when he was attacking me, hearing a song from my youth that held such fond memories for me. Later, I heard the song Big D Energy, and I realized that the song was playing in his car because it samples Genius of Love, but it has more bass. Sorry if this is a disorganized post. It's still really trippy to be remembering all of this. The news wanted to interview me, but I decided I didn't want my clients to find out what happened to me by seeing my face on the news. I'm a psychotherapist, and I was worried about it upsetting them. Because I'm a therapist, I'm in a lot of my own therapy anyway. I got a lot of support from people I'm in my group with, as well, of course, my therapists, for months after the attack. I avoided walking my dog, who is fine by the way, although he gets a little skittish when we walk on our own block. Finally, I admitted myself that I have PTSD, and being trained in EMDR, I knew EMDR would be very helpful. It took a while, but as of the past few months, I can walk my dog in my neighborhood and feel fine. Whenever there's a white car, that's what the lunatic drove, that does anything out of the ordinary, like stopping in the middle of the street or turning in my general direction, I go immediately on alert and pay close attention to which direction I should run if I need to. I wouldn't say I'm afraid necessarily, but I am now keenly aware that when you walk on the street, you could get hit by a car. I'm okay with being on alert that way. I had been in touch with the young couple that the lunatic had first tried to attack on my street. They are lovely people who, sadly for me, moved out of the neighborhood. I've not spoken to any of the other victims. The DA's office did tell me last fall, I think September, that one of the victims was still having medical issues as a result of the attack. I really hope that person has made a complete recovery. The DA's office has been really great. They have kept me updated with the case. Last fall, they called me to tell me that the perpetrator has been found incompetent to stand trial. I really had mixed feelings about that. As a mental health professional, I had wondered if mental illness had been a part of the mix as to why we'd all been attacked. I do have some compassion for him because he looks like he's had a hard life. As a victim, I was pretty angry and afraid that he would somehow get off without being punished. The DA's office told me he would be held in a secure medical facility where they would try to help him recover from whatever was going on with him so that he would become competent to stand trial. Then this February, there was a competency hearing and he was found competent. That's all I know for now. I rarely ever post anything on Reddit, so I didn't know what to expect from my first post. I was really touched by all of the kind expressions of concern from so many people. Of the many comments and questions I received, there was not one inappropriate or unkind comment. It really meant a lot to me to receive such an outpouring of support. I want to thank the Reddit community for being so awesome. I'm exhausted from just living and working. And trust me, this one gets heartbreaking. This is just a vent. How the hell am I supposed to do this? I get up every day to work, to do things, to talk to my colleagues, even though I don't want to. I'm exhausted. These things suck the living energy out of me. They trigger me to a point of no return. I can't trust my manager either. How are people around me not aware that almost all jobs are toxic? Like, how do they do this? I'm trying all I can just to get by, to make money to live. When am I supposed to relax and actually live, though? The system is literally rigged against me. I can't leave my job because I need money to live. Before you say, just get a new job then. Please realize I would most likely just get another office job that would also suck. The interview process in itself is also triggering AF. I don't want to go through it again. I don't have a support network that would have my back if I lost my job either. So I try my best every day, but it's so hard. I'm anxious all the time to the point where I forget to eat and drink and have migraines. I am so burnt out from living and working. How the hell am I supposed to heal when I can't? If I stop working, there will be a gap on my resume and employers may not hire me, LMAO. Who even came up with this system? I feel like a traumatized slave. And then 5 days later, the OP makes a post titled, "Today, I found out my migraines, dizziness, problem with focus, double vision, and pain in the back of my skull were actually a brain tumor." They found out today while doing an MRI scan. After it was over, I was relieved at how smoothly it went. But then they suddenly called me shortly after to ask me to come back. You can imagine I was freaking out and shaking, and unfortunately, the worst came to be true. The doctor showed me the tumor at the base of my brain, affecting coordination, vision, some numbness in the left side of my body, muscle weakness causing headaches and nausea, every symptom explained. I was in such shock I broke down I could barely speak. He walked with me to the ER where an emergency neurosurgeon would come see me shortly. They did so many tests and took a lot of blood plus injected stuff directly into my veins. I have like 7 more holes in my body now. Anyway, they've given me some pills that have made me calmer, so I'm not freaking out as much, but I can't really sleep because I'm still afraid. May I add, I'm only 30 years old. Right now, I am particularly afraid of losing my eyesight and basically not waking up after the surgery. I literally cannot grasp the potential that I may not wake up. One last thing I'm afraid of is the tumor potentially being cancerous. What the hell would I do then? Cerebellum is the part of the brain that is affected if you're interested. They also said most of the tumor is like fluid. Edit. I should have specified. The tumor is preventing brain fluids from moving down to my spinal cord. Since they can't do that, they just stayed there pressing on other parts of the brain. If anyone is interested in more warning signs, the ones I've been having, just ask. And if you have any tips how I can manage this freaking anxiety about not surviving this, please tell me. Friends tell me these surgeries are performed a lot, so I need not to be afraid. I don't know if they're lying to me. And then 2 weeks later, the OP comes back with an update, which reads as follows. I can't believe I'm writing this, but here I am. I'm told the MRI after the surgery went well. I'm still waiting for biopsy though, so I'm super tense. I'm so worried. So worried. But I can handle it somehow, no? This is your sign to get tested if you haven't already. Currently, my sister is taking care of me. My brother is literally in Denmark with my parents gone. I wish I didn't have to be sick. Some of you called me brave or gave other helpful advice. I really appreciate it. In the next few days, they'll be removing my surgery, whatever. Scars or scabs, I don't know what they're called, but they're at the back of my head. I also will have to schedule an MRI appointment. I'm so scared, you all. I'll be honest with you. I'm just 30. I don't want to be gone yet. As for symptoms, they came one after another. First dizziness, then migraines, and you know how they can get. Later on, ringing in my ears, not being able to focus. Never everything at once. What have I done wrong? And then the OP comes back a month later with an update titled, got laid off after 8 years and told I had a brain tumor within the same week. It didn't matter that I had an operation and was fighting for my life in the hospital. To my company and the HR rep, I am just a number. They said the decision to let me go was irreversible. I was already going through so much pain, but they literally didn't care. I'm so upset over this. I'm so worried about what will happen to me in the future too. A part of me wants revenge. I'm only 30. And then the OP comes back a week later and it reads as follows. Hi guys, first of all, thank you all for your support. It really made all the difference for me and still does. Second of all, I'm making this post since some of you have asked me for a more detailed explanation of my symptoms and such. I understand this. My aim is not to make anyone feel more scared. However, like a neurosurgeon said to me, 49 out of 50 people with my symptoms do not have a tumor in their brain. I'm not sure why I won the lottery and became that 1 out of 50 with symptoms that actually had a finding on their MRI, but no one has an answer to that, I guess. Hopefully, you'll be able to find what you need in what I assume will be a longer post. What actually happened to me? I started showing symptoms one by one around the beginning of December 22nd. Visited my general doctor, not very concerned at this point. Visited one neurologist in March 23, who wasn't very nice to me. She prescribed B6 vitamin, more painkillers, and muscle relievers, believing what I was having were migraines, but it was better to check. I went to the ER after the last migraine in May 23rd, was told migraines were pretty common, and that no specialist would come look at me since my condition wasn't bad enough. I went for one MRI a couple of days later, in May 23rd. They called me back because they had found a tumor in my cerebellum, preventing a cerebrospinal fluid from flowing further to my body. Suddenly, my condition was life-threatening, so a neurologist and neurosurgeon came. They kept me in the hospital and operated after 4 days for 9 hours. In that same week, around 4 days prior, I also got the news that I was being laid off after 8 years, by the way, but I guess that is a post for another time. So what actually were my symptoms? Dizziness, especially at night. I mainly felt it at the back of my head, but also everywhere in my skull. I would wake up at 3 a.m. because my head was spinning. I would also some pain in my back of my head or at the top of this point. The pain was just kind of relentless, but usually manageable with painkillers. I had something similar before, so I didn't give it much thought. Head pressure. This one I felt mostly when I tensed my muscles in some way. Think exercise or when going to the toilet. Thinking back to it, this was something I had never experienced before, yet I had no experience with tumors. So I just thought that was normal or something else. It was like all the tension from my body gathered in my head, causing me to feel right there. Headaches and 3 migraines in total. I had pain in the back of my head, where the neck and the head meet, which I thought was the result of stress and anxiety. As for the migraines, which was why I joined this sub, on one occasion I couldn't see peripherally for a while after visiting my office, so I thought it was the lights there that triggered it. With another one, I felt weakness in my muscles, especially my left leg, which felt hard to control for a while. These plus pain preceded the actual migraines, which I can't even compare to a regular headache. They hurt so much, even though I took painkillers. I just thought I was developing migraines with an aura. Throbbing pain in the back of my head. I've mentioned this before. Let's say I was talking to my colleagues, for example. That was enough stress to make me feel throbbing pain in the back of my head, literally the location of the tumor. Like I said, I would also feel it at night, or once when I was out with people that made me feel stressed. I thought it was stress or a bad posture, and then it would eventually stop. Nausea and vomiting. I actually vomited around 2 to 3 times during those 5 or so months. They tell you that people who have a brain tumor vomit all the time and also have seizures, that their symptoms are really, really bad all the time. That didn't feel like the case for me personally, but maybe they were talking about different cases. When I had one migraine at night, I remember I vomited. It also happened one morning when I felt nauseous. The vomiting, not the migraine. Other than that, no vomiting. Just a general feeling of nausea, especially in the morning. Double vision. So this one developed as one of my last symptoms. A few weeks before my MRI, I started seeing double, especially if something was further away from me. I normally wear glasses, so I thought, wait, maybe this comes with age and this is normal? Yeah, no. It was actually caused by the brain tumor. I also found it a bit challenging to walk since I didn't see well and got dizzy. This was days before the MRI. Things like getting up too fast would also make me feel pain in my head. I also remember I felt some sharp pain in the front of my head on a few occasions, forehead and temple area. People thought I had a sinus infection back then. That's it. If I remember anything else, I'll edit it in. I also remember feeling like my manager didn't really believe me back then, which was infuriating. Thinking back to it, should I have known? I had no idea. I was not the kind of person to think of the worst case scenario when it came to health. Plus, all my symptoms came slowly one by one and happened sporadically. Needless to say, that when I found out, I was in so much shock. So, what is actually happening right now? I am a month and 3/4 after my cerebellum surgery. They performed a craniotomy there, saving my life and giving me a huge scar in the process. The scar is slowly healing. The surrounding hair, which they had to shave off, is slowly growing back. I'm still quite tired, and moving fast or reading a lot makes me feel dizzy and nauseous, but I'm doing better than I was. In the beginning, I still had double vision. Felt so weak I couldn't walk to the bathroom by myself. I even fainted for the first time in my life in the hospital, trying to go to the bathroom. I was shaking. I also developed a cough and an eczema on my hands. It was quite something. My sister had to inject my belly to prevent blood clots and gave me medications too. But like I said, I'm slowly getting better. So yeah, what I and my doctors thought were migraines was actually a brain tumor. According to the biopsy, the wait was one of the worst times of my life. It's benign, called a something, grade 1. I'm thankful for this. Even cried happy tears when I found out. Although they had to leave 5% of it in my brain, since it is attached to my brainstem. I have no idea what to expect, but the options are monitoring or something like chemotherapy or radiotherapy. Yeah, and of course, I will have to go for MRIs for the rest of my life. I don't know how I feel about this. To be honest, I'm terrified. I also found out that one of my lymph nodes on my neck is swollen. I have no idea if this is because of the operation, because of the fluid is now flowing downwards, or something else. Frankly, this experience has given me so much health anxiety that I do think about the worst case scenario, i.e. cancer or death, with almost every symptom I have. Again, I feel scared. I think that is normal to some extent. One thing that no one talks about is the impact of the hospital stay and the operation on one's mental health. I was very, very depressed in the beginning. I genuinely didn't want to continue. Since my situation felt so hopeless, it still feels pretty bad. I cried so much, felt very embarrassed and guilty somehow. I had pretty bad dreams, which I thought were real. At one point, I thought I was dying and my organs were about to be shipped to Australia. I had to check with my sister. I've recently made an appointment to go see a psychologist to tell them everything, what I've been through, what I saw there. I want to process this trauma eventually, since this was all way too much to take in for one person. I want to tell them about how this has made me feel, that they put like 7 different needles in my body, that I was completely dependent on nurses, that I was in a life-threatening situation, that I was scared, and that I somehow made it out alive. Feel free to ask if you have any questions at all, and if I can help you somehow. I may edit or add to this post later on. For now, I'm going to sleep since I'm very tired. Take care, guys. Honestly. And that is the last post we have ever received from the OP.